your heart. I just wanna be with you. Be with you. Be with you. I just wanna be with you. I just wanna be with you. Where you are. I just wanna be where you are. Your love, like I seen, my wildest of dreams come close. I've never known better than living like this. Cannot resist. You are higher. There's nothing that I can do. Sweet elevation, our places. No one I love more than you. You were love like this before. Kind of life that I cannot find on my own. I've seen the world, but I have never been so sure that I want your heart. God, I just want to be where you are. Where you are. I just wanna be where you are. I just wanna be where you. Be where you. Giving you a love like this before. The kind of life that I cannot find my own. I've seen the world, but I have been so sure that I want your heart. God, I just wanna be where you are. Where you are. I just wanna be where you are. Where you are. I just wanna be where you are.
You shine brighter than the star in the sky. Your light shine through the dark of the night. Jesus, ever I find all that I am in your love, love. You are with me every step that I take. Your love for me, you have called me by name. Forever I find all that I am in your love, love. Let the music play, hear us praise your name. See the won't stop falling into you. My God, oh my God, 'cause no one's gonna love me like you. Alright, got nothing to lose, so I can't stop, won't stop falling into you. Alright, falling into you. I'm falling into you, my God. Falling into you. I'm falling into
Searching, your love was never far. You knew a way to get to me. You were the river leading me to your heart. Forever I belong to you. Now I can see my heart you for me. You won't let go. Let me down. Love won't let me. Love won't let me. When I need you, you listen as I pray. Leave the 99 for me. You pick a guy with promises of grace. So I find my way to you. Now I see clearly my heart you for me. You won't let won't let me down. heart beats to the rhythm of thunder, falling from a secret place. When my knees hit the floor, I go higher, 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 higher. My heart beats to the rhythm of thunder, drums falling from a secret place. When my knees hit the floor, I go higher, 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 higher. My heart beats to the rhythm of thunder, drums falling from a secret place. When my knees hit the floor, I go higher, 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 higher. Give me a hit it again, do it over and over and over again. Now watch me go to the right, crash to the left. Ain't nobody ready for this crash to the left, right to the crash to the left. Ain't nobody be ready. Crash to the left. Oh, boom, boom, hey. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Hey. Hear the sound waves cry as my curious eye halfway up to the sapphire sky. The view can't get any better. Got my arms stretched parallel to the clouds, pull me up to the top. Pours out, make it right forever. My heart beats to the rhythm of thunder, rolling from a secret place. When my hit the floor, I go higher, 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 higher. Yeah. My heart beats to the thunder, drums falling from a secret place. When my knees hit the floor, I go higher, 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 higher. Yeah. Give me a hit it again, do it over and over again. Now watch me go right, crash to the left. Ain't nobody be ready. Crash to the left, right to the right, to the left. Ain't nobody be ready for this crash. Left, right to the right, crash to the left. Ain't nobody be ready for this crash to the left, right to the right, crash to the left. Ain't nobody be ready for this crash to the left. Make the drums roll, make the roll, make the drums roll, make the drums roll, make the roll, make the drums 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 roll. Oh, yeah. Boom, 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 hey.
Recognize the value of influence and leadership. Everyone has influence. Raise the level of leadership, everyone gets. Churches get better, businesses get better, NGOs get better, governments get better, universities get better, communities get better, and churches get better. We're excited to announce some amazing faculty that have already committed to the 2020 GLS. Watch. What amazing faculty to help be able to raise your level of leadership. To be your annual leadership infusion and have you consider the GLS kind of your leadership camp every year. Just go right to gls2020.org. You can register for next year. Right now, you get GLS Next Premium for it's $129 value. You can get our best rates with GLS Next Premium until August 15. You need to invest in your leadership, and the GLS is your leadership infusion. We know that when gets better, everybody wins.
Nigerian parents and raised in London, Jo Saxton brings a multicultural and international perspective to leadership. She has served on the staff teams for in the UK and the US, speaks and coaches around the world, and is the founder of the ACE, an initiative that equips and invests leaders. Saxton produces and co-hosts the podcast Lead Tales of Leadership and Life with Steph, and is the author of 3 books, including Dream of You. Let's give a warm welcome to Jo Saxton.
So, if I was a child today, dreaming of my favorite superhero, I'm interested in heroes like Superman, Batman. I'd probably go for Captain Marvel, or I knew someone was out there, and Shuri from Black Panther. But back when I was a child, there really was one superhero for me, and that was Wonder Woman. She was kind, she was strong, she was powerful. She had passionate ideals for justice and equality. She was limitless. She had special powers and tools. She helped the good guys. She fought against the bad guys. She wanted to change the world and make it a better place. She wore a cape. She had powerful bracelets. But most amazing of all were her red boots. 4 years old, Wonder Woman's adventurous life, my happily ever after. My aunt comes home from shopping and she had a pair of red leather woman boots for me. I do not think I could have loved her any more than I did. Right? And the moment boots touched my feet, I was Wonder Woman. I was strong, I was kind, I was powerful. I had secret power and special skills. I would fight against bad guys. I would deal for the good guys. I did not have a cape, but I did have a cardigan. Amazing. I was limitless. I was somebody. And now Wonder Woman, like me. Tried to wear those boots as often as I could. Why did I go with my party dress? And of course, I could wear them in bed. And yet I did go with my sweatpants. So it was probably the saddest day of my childhood when at the age of 5, my feet grew 2 sizes. And I tried to squeeze into them as long as I could. But in the end, I had to let Wonder Woman go. I was no longer a superhero. I wasn't strong, kind, or powerful. My mission was compromised. I had no powers and no tools. I was just ordinary, limited, little kid, me. Look at the opportunities and challenges today as leaders in our homes, communities, in our cities, in our countries. We might feel we need to be superheroes. Job done. That in order to lead us and our projects effectively, we need special secret tools, powers. The good news is that because we're leading in real time and in real life, we know that leadership is exciting, but it's also challenging. We know that leadership is inspiring, but it's also disappointing. We know leadership is faith, but it can also be soul-crushing and heartbreaking. How experienced we are, we know that not everything's under control. So how do we level up our leadership to the challenges of our day? When I think of a leader, I think of a leader who is healthy, free to lead with all their gifts and talents, to lead themselves, their organization, their teams, with all that they have to their capacity. And you know, we can learn to level up our leadership by asking ourselves probing questions about what's happening in our life and the leaders we're becoming. Let's ask ourselves some questions right now. Question 1. Who were you before anyone told you who you're supposed to be? I grew up in London, in England. I'm a Brit, but I'm also a Yoruba Nigerian. I knew you were there. I knew you were there. My parents moved to the UK in the 1960s. On Sunday nights, our family had a little bit of a ritual. My aunts would come over and they would cook for hours. All our favorite food, our pepper soup, meat, and on a special occasion, our jollof rice. Amazing, yes. And when we were there, TV was always on, and it was news. It was like an additional family member contributing to the conversation with global affairs. And when I wasn't sneaking in to get some of the meat food, I was being sat down, having my hair cut, braided, and eavesdropping on us. One night, the news coverage wasn't global, though. It was local. It referred to one of our neighborhoods, a couple of miles from where I lived. Years and years of tensions, years of racial discrimination, inequalities, pain and poverty erupted, reached breaking point. There were riots, there were looting businesses, people were injured in violent cars were burned. And when these reports started, they spoke of a place I didn't recognize. Throughout, there were a number of similar riots for similar reasons in the country. And not all reports, but sometimes some reports, they described black people, the way they described immigrants, scared me. They described us as though we were less than human. And it was way too big for a 7-year-old mind to understand. My aunts and my mum, though, they understood, and they were weary. They'd lived in England 20 years by then. Long hours of hard work and study, adjusting to a culture, tensions, its climate. Misunderstanding and rejection, racist abuse, violence and aggression, social exclusion. Their skills, experience, and their wisdom was regularly dismissed and overlooked. They were tired. And in this climate, one voice rose all the others and spoke to me. It was Lassie, my favorite aunt. She said, "Dear, there's something you need to understand. You have 2 marks. You're black and you're going to have to work hard at school, but it will not be enough. Brilliant. You will have to work harder than everyone else because you're black. In addition, that means, you're a woman, and that means that you'll have to work harder than every man there. So you understand, my dear, what this means for you. You will have to be at least good. At least. It doesn't matter what your friends say. You're not. You're different from them. It's not the same for you. You will have to be twice as good. And you will have to be so good. Even if they do not like you for being black, and even if they don't respect you for being a woman, they will give you a job because you are so good at what you do. My dear, you'll have to work extra hard if you make it in this country. What I remember most was in her voice. It wasn't so matter of fact, it was almost medicinal. You see, she knew from her own journey what happens when you're limited by the other stories that people say about you, when they say who you're supposed to be. In that context, your gifts don't matter, your talents, your skills don't matter, your dreams don't matter. It had already been decided who we were. We were black, other. We were just. We were a problem, sometimes a threat, often a statistic. That's who we were told we were. But my auntie saw who I was. She saw my imagination. She saw my value. She saw my worth. And so she gave me the talk that a number of my friends of color in our nation received from their elders. I don't want the world to place any limits on me. She wanted me to believe the world's limits on me. She wanted me to break through. And so she gave me her advice, and I'm grateful. Who were you before anyone told you who you were supposed to be? And is that perception shaping how you see yourself and your leadership? And if we're going to ask the question, that anyone has to include you. What are the stories we tell ourselves about our potential and our worth and the people we're supposed to be? I wonder if, like me, you've ever struggled with the idea that's known as imposter syndrome. Regardless of your talents, your qualifications, your experience, you still feel like a and a fraud that you don't deserve to be in the room. Or, I wonder, me, you've ever thought, I know everything. I'm awesome. I'm the best at everything. And everybody just needs to listen up to me. Both stories have limited me as a leader. You see, the way we think matters. Muhammad Ali, who said, what you're thinking is what you're becoming. And we don't live beyond what we believe to be true about ourselves. So who do you think you are? Because the way you think about yourself is already shaping your leadership. But maybe it's not what you've told yourself. It's the stories that life has told you. No matter where our leadership and influence is, we've all experienced a few knocks and disappointments. So who were you before it happened to you? Before that failed project, before that conflict or relational breakdown, before you passed over for that promotion, before that crisis. Maybe you were a risk taker, a visionary. Or the weight of your disappointments reduced your dreams. You call it being wiser, steady now, and those are wonderful things. It's just that sometimes we use words to cover other words, like disappointment, angry, grief, loss. Stories in our minds matter because they have implications for our lives and our leadership. And it makes me wonder, what businesses aren't being started? What churches are not being planted? What non-profits aren't being launched? What books aren't being written? Art is not being created? All because game-changing ideas, our world-shaping ideas are buried under the rubble of the stories that other people have told us about who we're supposed to be, stories we've told ourselves, and about the stories life has told us. As priest and author Henry invites us, he invites us to live way, and he says this: you don't think your way into a new kind of living, you live into a new kind of thinking. Who were you before anyone or told you who you were supposed to be? It is time to level up by living a new story. A story of the truth of who you actually are, your gifts and your worth and your value. Next question, to help level up on our leadership. If your boss talked to you, what would it want to say? It began as an ordinary and unremarkable day. I went to work. My kids went to school in a fashion, which is loud, organized chaos. Except one thing, there was something that was different. And it was the strange pace of the heart. It was beating weirdly, faster than usual, harder than usual, and it was. So I ignored it. And I decided I was busy and I had other things to do. The next day, and my heart was beating strangely, faster than normal, harder than normal. So I hit it harder because I didn't have time for this. On the day, with my strangely paced, beating strangely in kind of pace, I decided to call my doctor and immediately sent me to urgent care. After 3 days of avoidance, there I am, and in minutes I'm in a robe with multiple electrodes attached to me and a machine monitoring me. I had to pay close attention to what was happening in my heart. I started talking first to God and then to myself, asking, how did I? The doctor came in and he spoke and said, good afternoon, Miss. So your heart is fine, but clearly something is going on. You need to get to the heart of what's going on with these patients. A battery of questions. He asked, how do you sleep? I replied, well, I slept in February. To put down his pen, he'd stopped writing. He turned and looked at me, and he said, Paxton, it's October. The game was up. I couldn't hold his gaze. I sat down and I studied the floor. Insomnia, he said. I found out why you're having heart palpitations. Insomnia, I said to him. Really hard year. Have you ever had a job that was more than just a job to you? Where you didn't just get on with your team, you lived and breathed the same vision. It was like you had the same goals, the same ambitions together. You weren't in love, but you finished each other's sentences. It was awesome. Phenomenal. Even your families were connected. Well, that is where I was. Until suddenly, morning, it was shattered. And the shattering impacted everything. To say my career was in this was an understatement. This shattering fractured friendships. It wrecked my job. It hit a family, our place in the community, and it broke. And every day I tried to push past the pain and power through. I just pull on my red boots and handle it, but I couldn't handle it at all. I remember weeping and worrying about the future. I was wondering about my kids, the upheaval in their lives. I would lay awake and I would rethink things in my head, and I would pray, but my heart would mumble the words that my mouth would find. Nights I just lay awake, angry and raw. And the really hard nights, the nights I would wake up gasping for breath in a cold sweat, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. And I would be gasping and immobilized by the fear and the shock and the panic. So later at night, because I was desperately afraid of going to beg it to stop, not only did I use, it increased until it was happening on a nightly basis, waking up to a night 5 times a night, every night, until October, when I found myself seated in urgent care. My doctor gave me anti-anxiety medication. I went to see a therapist. I walked and wept and took long runs. Eventually, I slept a night. Slowly, I began to heal. What was he saying to me? Honey, you're not a superhero. You're human. That it's to deal with grief and pain, taken loss. Time to pay attention to your mental health. That I needed to sleep and that I needed to heal. A 2018 study said that U.S. organizations are out crisis. A study of 7,500 full-time employees have found 23% of employees said they were out at work, both very often or 44% said they were sometimes. That's 2/3 of the US workforce. They also found out that 23% were more likely to have a sick day, 23% more likely to visit the emergency room. Now, the World Health Organization's recent study exploring the impact of mental health in the workplace revealed that depression and anxiety cost the global economy an estimated $1 trillion US per year in lost productivity. Friends, this is a big deal. So if your body could talk to you, what would it want to say? Would it tell you need sleep? Maybe it would say, don't try to numb me. Would it say, one breath away from burnout? Would it say it's time to see a therapist? You see, you have one body, and your leadership lives in it. Tell me, friends, what's your action step? It's time to take time, to pay attention to your body and to your heart, and make a plan. My third and final question, when we think about what it means to level up our leadership, is who are your people? About 12 years ago, I asked a mentor of leadership tips, and her response has stayed with me. She said, as you grow in experience and influence and opportunity, there is one thing I hope for you. I hope that you have friends. It may not be lots of people, maybe a few. Friends for when it's hard, but you'll really need good times too. Your friends for the loneliness that is a reality of every leader. So that's what I pray for you. I pray for friends. The 2012 CEO Snapshot survey found that half of all CEOs reported feeling lonely. And 60% of these leaders acknowledged that their loneliness affected performance. It was limiting their leadership. Now, a lot's happened since that conversation with my mentor. The babies falling around when we had the conversation are now in middle school. We've relocated for work about times. I've worked with different companies and organizations, worked on big teams from home in my office. I've seen great success, and I've also seen things fall apart. And the loneliness that comes from the weight of heavy decisions and the responsibilities we carry. I've known the loneliness of everybody wants an answer from you, and you know you just don't have it. I've also known the kind of loneliness that Grimes describes in her book, The Year of Yes. The FOD. First, only different. When you're the first of your kind in the room, the first in the room, the only on that team, the first black woman in a particular position, the first black woman team. And even though I've had some wonderful relationships, friends, loneliness there. See, no matter what causes your loneliness, nothing prepares you for the impact of its constant presence in your life, the way it facilitates your leadership. In his TEDx talk, The Lethal of Loneliness, the late neuroscientist John Cacioppo noted that chronic loneliness is harmful. He said, it increases depressive symptoms, it increases a powerful stress hormone, that it decreases the quality of your sleep and increases your vulnerability to impulsive behaviors. We are not superheroes. We are human beings designed for connection and relationship. So I've made an ongoing commitment to life-giving, honest friendships, to the everyday practice of making time for phone calls and walks and for fun. Like you, full life, but I cannot afford to be busy to have friends. You see, level up my leadership. I do not want to level up my loneliness. I hope for you as your leadership grows, at times but also in the good times, is that friends who know you and see you, you can reach out to. But when I for your people, there's one other group I want to mention. You see, my leadership journey has been shaped by my people. There has always been a good star who has navigated the way forward. From an auntie who gave me red leather boots, to another who found in her way to help me face the inequality in our community, to a doctor who called, and a mentor who gave me advice. Each in their own way leveled up leadership. They say it takes a village as a child. It takes a village to raise and sustain. And now my passion to be a Lodestar next round of leaders as they to level up. I want to help them level up in their leadership. So I ask you, who are your people? I'm asking who is doing this for you. I want to ask, who are you going to do this for? Level up your leadership, be a Lodestar. Invest in others and help them become great. Take your privilege, take your gifts and your skills and your talent, invest it in someone else so they can lead. And when you look for your people, limit it to people who look just like you. Statistics show we tend to recruit in our own image. And yet some of the most important opportunities I've had have stemmed from leaders who made room for me, sponsors for me. They sacrificed their own opportunities for me. They were willing and intentional about recruiting beyond their own image. I was given more than a seat at the table. I was given access to tools and skills so that I could build tables of my own. So look for ways to leverage your skills and your connections, power amongst people of a different gender, age, ethnic group, race, tribe. 2018 report delivered through diversity by global management consultants, McKinsey & Company, showed that worldwide, organizations that are committed to an ethnic and cultural diversity as an inclusion, especially within their executive teams, improve their financial bottom line. That companies in the top 25th percentile gender diversity on their exec teams were 21% more likely to experience above profits. Companies with more cultural and ethnically diverse executive teams, 3% more likely to see better than average profits, and where there was greater cultural diversity on the board of directors level, companies that were, in that case, were 40% more likely to see above average profits. They noted that these companies attract talent, have better and broader awareness of their company and their employees. Working environments foster innovation and creativity, taking their organizations to new places. So start thinking today, who are your people? And act on it as soon as you can, because the limits of your leadership depend on it. So, 3 questions to leadership. Number 1, who are you? One told you who you were supposed to be. Number 2, if your body could hear you, what would it want to say? And number 3, who are your people? Ask yourself these questions and make an action for each answer. Now, I want to make sure that everyone is clear on all these 3 areas, so I've got to reserve you. It's a gift, yay, for you and your team. So right now, you can take out your phones or whatever your course or thing of the day is, your book, whatever, because I want to tell you how to get hold of this. If you are in the US, you can text Level Up to 345-345. Everywhere else in the world, across the globe, you can go online to joesaxton.com/GL2019. And a leader's Level Up guide unpacks all this in greater detail. It's exclusive to GLM. Gift to you because I believe in your leadership. I believe in your leadership. Now, although I'll be with you, I want you to check on how your 3 months' time, and I want to check on how you're doing in 6 months' time, and get your teams and your people working on these questions too. Work on every answer that's an obstacle for your leadership. You see, the opportunities and the obstacles facing our world today are crying out for healthy leaders who will create wonderful, beautiful cultures for human flourishing, for organizations that will be healthy and ethical, for art that will inspire, for people who will be innovators in our cities, but also in our communities. We need influence. We need your impact shapers. We need you to level up your leadership. The time is now.
Thank you so much to Joe. Our final strategic pause of today's session and of the summit. I've been guiding you through these strategic pauses the last couple of days. And what I want us to do now is pack what we've heard today, whether it was from Todd, Joe, or Krish. As we've done throughout the summit, we want you now to go back through your notes, whether from your summit notebook or they're on your phone, and go back through your notes just from today, 4 speakers, and identify one thing you can apply, and then we want to take a step further. How are you going to tactically integrate it into your life? So identify that one thing, and then I want you to think about how. Put yourself in a scenario, how you're going to apply that one thing into. So let's take a moment to pause and breathe. Hope you have identified that one thing and then identified how you're going to integrate it into your life. Now, we're going to get a little personal. We want you, if you're comfortable, to be a little vulnerable and turn to the person to your left, right, the person in front of you, the person in back of you. Share with one person what that one thing is. Another moment we'll give you to pause and talk. That is a wonderful sound. I actually appreciate people talking over me right now because You're sharing and you're opening up and you're vulnerable and you're inviting people into your leadership journey. So thank you so much for sharing with your neighbor. One of our favorite past speakers, so bummed that I wasn't here to hear her, is Brene Brown. Brene Brown is a gifted leader. She's a gifted orator. Here, some applause for Brene in the back. I love this quote from Brene. She says, "The only way to move information from your head to your heart is through your hands." Again, the only way to move information from your head to your heart is through your hands. And that's a quote from Brene Brown. And I just want to encourage all of you, encourage myself. This is my first at the GLS, at the summit. We're here for 3 days. That doesn't mean the rest of the year, 360 days, we're not leaders anymore. We're equipping you, empowering one another. We're encouraging one another. That quote from Craig Groeschel where he said, we're all leaders because we all have influence of our class, color, or creed. We all have influence, and the onus is on us to take that back into our communities and back into our capacities, whatever those may be. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is a little bit like picking your favorite child. It's going to be difficult, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. I say this as one of my children is sitting in the audience right now. We've identified these things over these strategic pauses. Now I want you to take those those 4 things that we've identified, and now one. Just pick one that you can launch together. Think about it. And then once you've identified that, you don't have a second, but we do want you to do it over the next couple of days, just to really, really think about what's your one takeaway from the summit. Go to globalleadership.org/debrief and then identify your summit one. And if you want to share it on social media, you can the hashtag summit one. We also have some great news about some upcoming